The gate groaned like an old secret. Beyond it, tangles of weeds and forgotten soil. The child stood barefoot, curious and still. Their shirt was torn, knees scraped from adventure. A single bird chirped above as if calling them in. They stepped forward, as if led by something invisible. No flowers bloomed, but something stirred inside them. It wasn't beauty they saw, it was possibility. They closed their eyes and breathed deep. In their mind, colors danced where weeds stood. Butterflies flickered in imagined sunbeams. Their arms became wings. The garden, a dream. Vines curled like ribbons, trees arched like cathedrals. A pond shimmered where mud puddled now. Joy swelled in their chest, pure and bright. Even in silence, they spoke wonders into the earth. With a stick, they traced winding paths in the dust. Here, roses. There, benches made from stumps. They drew not with tools, but with dreams. Each line a promise of what could be. Their fingers were calloused, but steady. The sun warmed their back like encouragement. From a distance, the garden was still a ruin, but from their eyes, it was already alive. Each day brought dirt under nails, sweat on brow. They pulled weeds like pulling pain from soil. Tin cans became flower pots. Stones formed quiet altars. The garden began to breathe again. Their hands ached, but they didn't stop. A song hummed on their lips, one the wind seemed to carry. Hope took root as surely as the seeds. The garden was no longer empty. Neither were they. Rain tapped the umbrella like gentle applause. Puddles gathered around the garden's new beginnings. Tiny shoots shivered in the soft storm. The child smiled. They were growing too. The cold dripped down their neck, but they didn't flinch. Their shoes were soaked, but their spirits stayed warm. They whispered to the leaves like old friends. And somehow, the garden listened back. Scraps became streamers. Rusted lids, mirrors for light. They hung cloth from branches like tiny flags. The wind caught them, and the garden seemed to sigh. Bits of color danced where once there was only gray. The sun dipped low, lighting the leaves like stained glass. The child stood back, eyes wide with wonder. They had created joy out of nothing, and it shimmered like a secret. The tin cup spilled water like a blessing. The plants leaned toward the child as if listening. A stray cat purred, circling their ankles. It stayed. Like it, the child had found a home. They whispered to each sprout by name. Kindness fed the roots as much as water. A garden was growing. So was a heart. The gate creaked open, this time not alone. Two pairs of eyes peeked through rust and vine. They gasped softly at the wonder within. "Did you make this?" one whispered. The child nodded, unsure but proud. The garden had become a story worth sharing, and others were beginning to read. Paint-stained fingers danced across pebbles. Laughter replaced silence. One child planted marigolds, another drew stars on rocks. Each corner of the garden bloomed with story. They didn't just visit, they created. The space had grown beyond one dream. It had become a sanctuary for many hearts. They sat still, the world humming gently around them. Leaves rustled like applause. Children whispered stories beneath the trees. Flowers nodded in every direction. It wasn't just a garden now. It was proof that beauty blooms from the forgotten. And dreams, when watered, can shelter many. They entered hesitantly, some with disbelief. Gray coats, tired eyes met a world reborn. Flowers bowed in welcome. Flags danced like joy. Some sat on the benches in silence. A few wept without knowing why. Even grown hearts found healing here. The garden hummed with soft golden light. Hawk drawings curved along the path. Voices rose like bird song. Hands planted, others painted. Some simply watched. It had become a canvas for peace. One child's dream had become everyone's sanctuary. Wood met nail. A name was born. The dreamer's garden it read in bright colors. Little hands had painted stars and suns along the frame. The child stepped back, wiping paint from their nose. A new story had been named and claimed. Rain didn't stop the garden, it softened it. Umbrellas bloomed like mushrooms. Footprints turned to puddles. Inside the gazebo, warm laughter bloomed. Even storms were welcome here. Lanterns glowed like stars along the paths. Laughter echoed into the evening. The child, now older, sat quietly on a bench, eyes shining, heart steady. The garden didn't need them now, and yet it still carried their soul. They knelt at the roots of the oldest tree. The notebook was worn, pages full of color and hope, drawings of what the garden once was and what it had become. They pressed it into the earth like a seed. Stories, now rooted. Ribbons rustled with secret wishes. Messages of grief, hope, and joy danced in the wind. The tree shimmered with silent prayers. Every story mattered here. The garden listened, always. Clipboards clicked. Pencil scratched. A teacher's voice floated gently. This flower came from kindness. That from dreams. Dia. The children paused, sketched, smiled. The garden taught without speaking, and they listened with their hearts. Tiny footsteps beside quiet ones. This used to be nothing, they said. The little one looked around, eyes wide. It's magic, they whispered. It's yours too now, came the answer. A dream passed gently to the next dreamer. Sunrise painted every leaf in gold. Birds soared above winding paths. What began as a child's escape had become a haven, a place where wounds healed and hearts opened. The garden had been imagined, then grown, and it would keep growing as long as someone dreamed.